And away we go. Alright, so here's how the episode's gonna start. I've sent some pieces of content to the lads in the podcast group chat and see what our thoughts on it. If they ever reply to it, that is. Which most cases they don't. Either way, let's see what's been sent. So I've sent 2 Instagram reels into the group chat. I also sent the same set. I've also sent the same 2 Instagram reels onto the Project Bits chat, which is on Discord. And those 2 videos, we'll play the audio for them now. Here's the first one.
Here's an app idea that doesn't exist. So the app is like Omegle, but it pairs people with different viewpoints on political topics to debate each other. As you're both talking, the app will listen and award points based on factual accuracy and sound arguments, resulting in a winner. And with your wins, you climb the leaderboard on the app with the top debaters. It would incentivize people to get out of their echo chamber and talk to people that they disagree with.
And you know what? That sounds like a great idea. Except, who determines how many points that a debater gets from debating? What are the set points that people will be allocated based on their debating? And another thing, I'd have to make very clear, what do these debaters even gain from this game of debating? Yes, we know there's a leaderboard, but leaderboard for what? How accurate the debating is? How many points they got from said debating? Or maybe another third thing relating to debating that makes no freaking sense. In all seriousness though, there's a lot of information going on in social media that, for obvious reasons, should go without saying. And there's obvious misinformation, disinformation, and all other kinds of information that doesn't add up in the slightest. I'd assume a lot of people know this by now. If not, well, they only had it coming. And they will fall victim to every gullible tactic that scammers online, trolls, and rage baiters do to their prey. They will find out what the internet is really like. So back to this app idea about debating, Omegle style, getting points, climb the leaderboard. Again, this is an idea that I know a handful of people will be on board with. The thing is that what everyone wants to do? Does everybody want to debate each other to say that I'm right, you're wrong, your facts aren't making sense? I'm sorry, quote unquote, facts get right, or something else like that. And whilst it does address, and whilst it kind of mostly resolved the issues going on online today, there's going to be people that express their opinions that aren't going to be on board with debating with other people. And that's okay. That people don't have to debate each other on opinions that they have on whatever given subject they are debating. If people don't get out of whatever echo chamber they're in, or at least people don't try to adapt to environments or new situations, or at least have somewhat of an open mind to ideas that aren't their own, either some people will never learn, or some people are going to fall victim to their own biases. That's just the way it'll go. And I'm no perfect either. There are times that I don't fully understand what goes on in today's world, but at least I admit that there are things that I know nothing about. And not just in regards to topics that I've discussed before on this podcast. There could be news stories somewhere in the world that not even people in my country are even aware of. In fact, people in the West, in Western civilization, they may not be aware of whatever goes on in a small town in Saudi Arabia, a local fire in India, as these are still important issues wherever they are around the world. Just because there is an important issue somewhere around the world in different countries, that does not mean that everybody around the world are going to know about it. And even when international news stations make news stories on said situation that draws in a lot more attention globally, there's still going to be a handful of people with all the media access and access to the internet to look up this specific details and information themselves, even then, some people will not know about these stories. So yeah, I went a little longer on just one video. Then again, I went on a lot longer on other stuff before. It's still important though that there will be scenarios, news stories, and global events. Whilst it does get attention locally for sure, how much attention that story gets globally is not just determined by news stations around the world making stories on said events that brings in attention from their viewers. It is also based on the interest of the viewer themselves. Is this a story that a person will most likely be interested in? Will people look into more information about this? Will there be any follow-up to said story? These are very important questions that not a lot of people will think about often. It is still important, nonetheless. So that's one of two Instagram Reel videos I played. Here is the second Instagram Reel, which I sent to Eric and Risk in our podcast group chat, and on Project Bits, along to Eric and Shadowminer.
You guys are stupid bitch, then keep scrolling. This video's not for you. For everybody else. There's no reason you could be making an extra $10,000 to $12,000 every single week. I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide, and you can follow it or don't. But be sure you save this video so that you can come back to it later. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to usenaive.ai, and once you get there, you're going to click on the templates. You can literally scroll through 50 pre-built businesses all ready to make you money with AI agents. They have anything from planning out entire content strategies, hiring UGC creators, or fully automating an AI dropshipping business. There's literally any business that you could possibly think of, and all you have to do is just download it from the template and let AI do all the work for you. There's nothing stopping you from doing this, but if you want to learn more about how to do it and how to do it the right way, comment the word naive, and I'll send you to a free guide.
So there you go, folks. It's not just AI getting smarter, AI is getting more accessible to people that want to run a business of their own. And I'm not going to dismiss the argument about AI taking out jobs, even when AI, as it stands now, they're not as bright. They're not the sharpest tool in the shed, and they're not able to comprehend any nuanced concepts that we would know. Even when AI does get to a state that they are smart enough to carry on tasks that we would do in our lives and could do whatever task we've been given to us quickly and efficiently, the main issue is not about if it takes over jobs that humans are occupying now. It comes down to the business owner and executives. Do they want to implement AI to cut costs on cover and pay minimum wage to their human workers? And I have read an audiobook a while ago discussing about artificial intelligence in regards to current capability and what it could do in workplaces in the next few years. And that particular idea about it's not about AI taking over our jobs. It comes down to the business owner wanting to implement AI to do tasks that would have been given to us. That's something I've learned from listening to an audiobook on said subject. And it really stuck with me. Even when the decision of whether people will still have a job comes down to the business owner and the executives of said business, if there are businesses that are still willing to have humans still working for them, fair enough. Another thing, it's on the subject about business owners, business executives deciding whether or not to implement AI to do tasks that would have been given to employees to do and work on. What about the workers themselves? If they're being laid off, who's to say that they won't start a business for themselves and then look at AI tools to make running a business not just cheaper and affordable, also run more efficiently and effectively as well? That's the thing that not many people are often talking about. They do talk about it, just not as often as we want them to. How long will it take before at least half of the world are working in a business or organization where partial or mostly artificial intelligence plays a crucial role in the operation of said business or organization that people are a part of. And even if AI does occupy a lot of the jobs today, there's still going to be human workers working for these businesses. It's most likely going to be the person that either owns the business or possibly a regional manager for one of the branches for said business. That is what the future of AI is looking like. Quite soon, in the next few years, maybe in a decade or two, certainly in the next few years, at the earliest, AI is on the rise. Speaking of AI, there's a certain news story on social media which a lot of people are talking about, and it's regarding to one of the biggest tech companies in the world. They're so big, you certainly know a person that's using one of their devices right now. Even I'm using one of their devices. Anyway, what I sent to the lads in the group chat is a screenshot of a dashingly good-looking lad smiling away, and I responded to that picture I sent to the lads in the group chat saying, "Gentlemen, Apple's new CEO." And then I responded, and then I replied to that screenshot with a Twitter X post by the account Apple Hub at the Apple Hub. The caption reads, "The new Apple CEO, John Ternus. He will take over as CEO on September 1st, 2026. And the picture within that Twitter X post is also the same picture of John Ternus that I've sent to the lads in the group chat. So what does this mean for Apple in the next few years? Well, John has big shoes to fill. Looking back at Tim Cook's tenure as Apple CEO, whilst it's not as innovative or well-defined as Steve Jobs when he was as CEO, Tim Cook still played a role in growing Apple to the company that is today, with assets and a company valuation that's within the trillions of dollars. There aren't many companies that are worth trillions of dollars these days. That company, Apple, has a higher valuation. They have much more money in whatever assets they have than a lot of countries around the world. A lot of countries in Africa, South America perhaps, mostly, and maybe more money than, maybe more valuation than Australia's GDP. That is absolutely surmountable. So anyway, back to John Ternus, new Apple CEO. Well, people will be excited for John Ternus to see where Apple will head towards next. One thing I will say, even if there comes new innovations and groundbreaking revelations technologically under John Ternus, it will never match the energy of Tim Cook, let alone the innovations of Steve Jobs. Everyone knows that the mindset of that Steve Jobs had when he was CEO of Apple is the reason why Apple is as successful as it is today. Tim Cook was just making best of whatever's laying about in Apple headquarters, whilst John Ternus has the privilege and the honor to lead one of the biggest tech companies to ever exist. There's going to be pressure. He's going to have ideas for how Apple should go forward. Everyone is going to be watching very closely about what's going to happen with Apple in the next few years. Could he match up to could John Ternus achieve the same polls like Tim Cook, or have any groundbreaking innovations like Steve Jobs? Again, I'm not expecting perfection from John Ternus. Everyone is going to be asking, what happens next with Apple, with their new CEO coming in at the start of September of 2026? Whatever happens, there's going to be workers at Apple. They'll do whatever they can to deliver on the products that they plan on releasing in the next few years. I'm not having too much expectation from John Ternus, given the valuation and the size of Apple. Anything less than above average, in my opinion, is simply not going to cut it. It's just not enough. That's just me. Alright, next, I've sent another 2 Instagram reels to the lads in our podcast group chat, and that's it. And each one reflects on one of the 2 members of Parliament in the UK being kicked out of the House of Commons in regards to the inquiry about Sir Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the UK, appointing Lord Peter Mandelson to be the UK ambassador to the United States. If you don't know about, well, actually, I think everyone knows about the Epstein files. Peter Mandelson was heavily connected with Epstein, not just during the time when Epstein was hosting his parties, where the infamous operations that everyone is talking about and the files in question were exposing, that Peter Mandelson still had connections with Epstein, even after being convicted for his actions to minors in 2008, and even lived within Epstein's home during that time, at least from what I've heard. So yeah, surely anyone that knows about this already, they are fuming. And a lot of MPs in the UK, they were fuming too. They wanted answers, and they want them now. But of course, whilst people were furious, they have genuine concerns. Out of all the hundreds upon hundreds of MPs questioning Keir Starmer about appointing Peter Mandelson to be UK ambassador of the United States, 2 MPs, when they were questioning Keir Starmer, they were asked to leave, slightly on the verge of being kicked out. Actually, one of them got kicked out and suspended from Parliament. I know at least 2 of them were asked to leave by Speaker of the House, Lynn. So, I'll play the first video showing the first of the 2 MPs that were kicked out of Parliament.
The problem the Prime Minister's got is no one believes him. The public don't believe him. The MPs on this side of the House don't believe him. His own gullible backbenchers don't believe him. So does a Prime Minister agree with me? He's been lying.
Sorry, we don't use those words, and I'm sure the members withdrawn it.
Mr. Speaker, I have the greatest respect for you and your office, but I will not withdraw. That man couldn't lie straight in bed.
Order. Mr. Anderson, you'll have to leave.
Okay, so that was Lee Anderson, the first of the 2 MPs. Here is the next MP that was, well, at least asked to leave and then got suspended.
Is a barefaced liar, and if you
Sit and leave. Leave now. I'll name you otherwise. I'd go now if I were you. Leave. I'm no name. I've given the option to leave. I'd leave if I were you very quickly. Move before I read it and give me one option. Right, give me that. You have no duties. It's my duty to carry out and control this house. One chance. Do you want to leave now or not? My name's Zara Sultana. Minister, I beg to move that the name, the said member, be suspended from the House.
move that Zara Sultana be suspended from the service of the House.
The question is that Zara Sultana be named and leave this House. All those in favour, leave. I'm sorry you've done this. I really am.
At this point, this isn't a left versus right issue anymore. When you have MPs from both the left and the right calling out Starmer for what it is, that's bad. And I try to give benefit of the doubt. At this point, how can I not? One MP that leans to the right and another MP that leans to the left literally said and expressed their opinions, actually their viewpoints, on the appointment of Peter Mandelson, and they were asked to leave. Now, of course, I would argue the execution could have been polished to the point where there was no need for being called out the way they had. Someone had to say it, and they said what they said. And the rest is history. And somewhat related, when I was scrolling on Instagram, I saw an Insta story by the account Polymarket showing the chances of Keir Starmer resigning by the end of 2026. And the figures from the Instagram story kind of showed roughly 60-ish% chance of him resigning. And that's at least what I've seen on Instagram story for Polymarket about the chances of Starmer resigning as Prime Minister. That number could change since then. Just to end off on these two videos that I've played in relation to questionings about Starmer pointing Peter Mandelson, yeah, Keir is in hot water right now, and if Starmer resigned now, it's not going to fix a lot of the problems that the current UK government has. It will at least soften the blistering blow that the Labour Party is currently going through right now. It's not clear if Starmer does intend to resign. He is sticking to his guns. He's still going to continue out the work that he's wanting to do as he's been elected in the last general election. If things couldn't have gotten worse for the current UK government as it is, well, you might have been wrong. It could get worse. It's only going downhill from here. And especially as of this recording, the local elections across the English local councils in England, as well as the Welsh Senate and the Scotland Holyrood parliamentary elections coming up around May 7th, we're about to see what the people think of the politics going on in today's world in the UK. Now, of course, the Reform are going to win the most councillors, like they did last year, and of course, Liberal Democrats are also going to win lots of councillors, because what negative press is there to say about the Liberal Democrats? And not to mention, the Greens are also going to win a lot of councillors as well. Well, mainly off the Labour councillors that exist. I cannot stress enough the hot water that how the UK is in right now. Not just the inquiry about Mandelson. Also, what is yet to come in the next general election? It's still a long way away. It is, nonetheless, quite damning. Very damning indeed. Only time will tell. If there's any more development going on in the UK government and any of the political parties in the United Kingdom. And that is all that's been sent in the group chat as of the last time I recorded a podcast episode. With that being said, let's get right into the news. Anthropic probes possible unauthorized access to Mythos AI model. Bloomberg News reported on Tuesday that unauthorized users accessed Anthropic's new Mythos AI model through a third-party vendor, gaining entry on the same day the company announced the controlled release. Announced on April 7th, Mythos is deployed as part of Anthropic's Project Glasswind, a controlled initiative allowing select organizations, including Apple, to use the Claude Mythos preview model for defensive cybersecurity. The group utilized a Discord channel to identify unreleased models and combine information from a Mercor data breach with access held by an Anthropic contractor to guess the model's online location. Anthropic confirmed it is investigating unauthorized access reports through vendor environments, stating so far it has found no evidence the activity impacted its internal systems. The group told Bloomberg they are interested in playing around with new models, not wreaking havoc. Yet regulators may remain concerned about Mythos's potential for misuse in the wrong hands. And it is important that the potential of Mythos AI's capabilities does not fall into the wrong hands. Who knows what damage could be caused in the technological sector, the infrastructure, and whatever sensitive data could be leaked to the public, or even spies or intelligence agents for countries' intelligence agencies, if that made any sense. Imagine what stories we could be getting in the next few weeks or next few months as a result of Mythos AI having the capabilities to extract and obtain sensitive data from everyday users or even government agencies, and what advantage that could give to whoever is operating Anthropic's Mythos AI model. There are so many possibilities, so many scenarios that could play out. Given Mythos' AI's capabilities, we're living in scary times, folks. These are very scary times indeed. One thing I will say, no matter the odds of our data being leaked publicly, or even the damage it could do to our devices, always turn on multi-factor authentication, and always make sure you have a couple of email addresses that you can switch back and forth to ensure that if one of your emails is compromised, you have another email that you have access to ensure that any verification is sent to your other email and not the main email that has somewhat been compromised. Not sure how it could be compromised. It is useful to have alternative authentication receivers that you have influence and control over, just in case anyone tries to get into your accounts, your finances, any of your digital media. You can never be too safe and never be too cautious about what is yet to happen. Technologically, over 1,000 artists call for boycott of Eurovision over Israel's participation. I was wondering when the next time I would hear a story like this. On Tuesday, April 21st, 2026, over 1,100 artists signed an open letter organized by No Music for Genocide and the BDS movement, demanding the European Broadcasting Union ban Israel's public broadcast Khan from Eurovision. Signees argue the EU banned Russia in 2022 for invading Ukraine, yet allows Israel to compete for a third consecutive year despite allegations of genocide in Gaza and the West Bank. Massive Attack, Kneecap, and Paloma Faith joined the initiative, while broadcasters from Ireland, the Netherlands, Slovenia, Spain, and Iceland have already withdrawn in protest of Israel's inclusion. Artists reject Eurovision being used to whitewash and normalize Israel's genocide, siege, and brutal military occupation against Palestinians, calling on performers, crew, and fans to refuse participation until the EBU bans Khan. With Eurovision set for next month in Vienna, Austria, the EBU maintains it must be guided by our rules first and foremost, defending its decision-making process over the political dispute. I will say this right now. Anyone that wants to boycott Eurovision, do it. Make your voice heard. There's no doubt about that. Even when people do boycott Eurovision because of Israel still competing after October 11th, October 7th, there's still going to be people that will tune in to watch Eurovision anyway. I remember 2024 when it was hosted in Malmö, Sweden. Surely there was a lot of people that announced that they were going to boycott and protest Eurovision because Israel was still included. The figures in terms of viewership that came out of that, there was a slight increase of viewership of that year's Eurovision as opposed to last year. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't boycott. Even when people do gather in big numbers to speak out against the actions of organizations, broadcasters, and even businesses, the world is still going to continue moving. Organizations will still continue to host events as big as Eurovision, and especially the money, the funding that is funneled towards said events are still going to keep on flowing. There are people in this world, whilst there are a handful of people that are very determined to speak out against the atrocities that goes on in today's world, there's also going to be another group of people that will say, so what? Life goes on. And life goes on. Those people will continue doing what they're doing despite whatever travesties are going on in the world. The world does not stop for anyone. there aren't going to be many people that will help you out. Everyone is in it for themselves. Everyone is on their own on this journey. That's only as if there aren't any people that's going to tag other people along and go on the journey together, which there will be. I've seen many protests go on time and time again. And whilst it does send a clear message to the recipients of said broadcaster, business, or organization, it only is effective if the percentage of workforces within the said organization, business, or broadcaster massively hurts the entity in question. And like even when millions of people are protesting about a lack of a pay rise, a country committing actions in the Middle East that's costing the lives of many people, those are important issues to address. That does not mean the world will stop for said events. And again, I did say a while ago for another story that not many people will be made aware about what is going on in the world today. Even if there are people that are not made aware about these events, who's not to say that you should not go over and tell these people that something is going on? And especially the rise of the internet, you can get your message across to many people across the world. In this day and age, the sky is the limit. And maybe at some point, the universe is the limit. We have to wait and find out about the firmament. Who's to say that there isn't a limit? It only comes down to how people perceive said limit. And when it comes to Eurovision, only time will tell. And maybe after Eurovision, and maybe after the 70th edition of Eurovision, possibly another vote could be held on regards to Israel's participation. And maybe, possibly, the EBU will hold that vote. And a majority of the broadcasters that are members of the EBU, they say, yeah, I think we should exclude Israel from Eurovision. And then after that, fans that were boycotting Eurovision because Israel was still taking part, they come back to Eurovision. And then all of a sudden, viewership goes back up again. Not too much, but just a little bit. That could be the scenario that would potentially play out in the next couple of months. It's not guaranteed. It is something it is an ideal situation or scenario. A lot of Eurovision fans are wanting to pan out, or want panning out, by the time this year's Eurovision has concluded. Until then, the boycotts continue. An artist will continue to express their opinions about what's going on in Gaza, and certainly what is going on in Iran as well. It's becoming too hard to ignore these stories and these events. If punishment is given to one broadcaster, yet the other broadcaster is going on about anything that they're doing, at least just a slap on the wrist. And it doesn't matter if I'm talking about Israel's broadcaster Khan or the broadcaster for Russia. A lot of people will argue, how is it this person or entity is being punished for their action somewhere in the world, yet this other entity doing the same action, they just go on scot-free? That's what a lot of people protesting Eurovision will argue. How is it that one punishment for that thing is different to the punishment for the other thing that has done the same exact thing, yet they still go on and still allowed to compete? That is a very common conversation starter, or at least a very common argument amongst the boycotters, and that will not go away until something is done with Israel's broadcaster Khan. The boycotts will continue, as that's the reason why they're boycotting in the first place. They'll stop at nothing until the ban on Israel is complete and something is actually done about Israel. Cambridge study finds monkeys eat soil to cope with junk food. That's interesting. Macaques on the Rock of Gibraltar are eating soil to soothe stomachs after consuming tourist-provided junk food. A study published Wednesday in Scientific Reports revealed Cambridge University researchers observed 46 dirt-eating events among 44 macaques over 98 observation days between summer 2022 and spring 2024, with higher rates correlating to frequent human contact. Dr. Sylvian Limon explained that tourist snacks are extremely rich in calories, sugar, salt, and dairy, unlike the herbs and insects macaques typically consume, causing digestive distress. Soil acts as a protective barrier in the gut, limiting absorption of harmful compounds and providing bacteria and minerals absent from processed foods, helping animals manage gastrointestinal symptoms. This behavior appears culturally learned as different troops exhibit preferences for specific soil types, prompting researchers to recommend tighter enforcement of rules prohibiting tourist feeding. Who knew that soil can cope with the processing of junk food? No, not sure. I'm not sure if anyone would be bold enough to do what the macaques have done. And nonetheless, it just shows that you should never feed processed food to any animals. And if there are animals that eating said food are getting some weird sensation and they have to eat dirt to cope with the stress from their stomachs from what they've just eaten, then you know what the food in question that you were about to eat is very bad. And people still ask, oh, but I like this food, it's so good. But the ingredients of the said food, the same food you're eating has ingredients that you will find in making asphalt roads, the same material that's making plastic dolls, and even the same material that's even making your phone case. I'm not sure if there's any ingredients like that goes into everyday products. Then again, you could say anything, and you can say that junk food has ingredients like this compound and this powder that actually goes into your phones, your toys. It can also be used to make furniture, and 80 to 90% of the time, that may be true. There is an ingredient found in junk food that's also being used to make plastic dolls. And one ingredient found in junk food is also used to make asphalt roads. And food regulators in the United States, specifically, I can't think of any other country that will allow such processed junk. They're like, yep, good to go. Put the stuff in and send them to Americans. Eat away. You save loads of money. Ridiculous. Madness. And people ask, why are Americans so damn fat? I'm not saying all Americans are fat. Then again, there's a few Americans that are at least obese and have a very wide physique. And imagine if these said Americans who are on these diets, eating heavily processed foods, they go live in another country, maybe in Europe, for 2 years. Imagine how much weight they could lose because the food they're eating in Europe is nothing like the food they're eating in the United States. If there is a difference in these Americans eating these highly processed foods, they lose some amount of weight at the very least. And again, the same said Americans, they can easily do exercises without any distress or struggle when they're doing it in Europe as opposed to when they were in the United States. Then that says a lot about whatever the food in the United States that people have been eating. I'm not gonna now, surely the United States isn't the only country we said questionable food standards and regulation. There could be other countries that are also serving or selling processed foods to their people as well. It's only a matter of time before people realize the foods that people have been eating, they're not good for them. This is not good for me, one person asks. Why am I eating this? No wonder I'm so damn thick and wide. Yeah, well, at least my mum knew about this a couple of years ago. Life for her turned out great. So good for her. Good for her. And the rest of my family as well. They also realized that there are some foods that's just not good for you, and they made changes to their lifestyles and what their diets are. And it's worked well for them as well ever since. So yeah, be very mindful what you eat, folks. You never know the key difference in your health and exercise the moment you drastically change your diet. How much more you can move, how much more stamina and agility you could potentially get if you make these dietary changes. It's not too late. You can do this. No matter what happens, you can do it. It is possible. And that is it for the episode.